endocrine and nervous system. Okay. So I will be going to discuss about the most important, one of the most important endocrine gland. Okay. That is adrenal gland, or it is also called a suprarenal gland. Okay. Why it is called a suprarenal gland? Because it is present above the kidney. Okay. And the adrenal gland is very, very essential for life. Okay. Because it secretes two important hormones. Okay. One is called as cortisol, that is very important for metabolism and stress-like situation. Okay. And the second one is the aldosterone. Very important. This hormone is aldosterone because it regulates sodium in the body. Sodium is essential, so it maintains the extracellular volume. Okay. So it is a sodium conservating hormone. Okay. Sodium conservating hormone. Okay. We'll discuss in detail. So learning objectives. Here you should know only the hormones secreted by adrenal medulla. No need of detail, function and other things for adrenal medulla for your lecture class. But it is present in seminar. The second learning objective is you should know the hormones. At the end of the class, you should know hormones secreted by the adrenal cortex. Hormone. You should know their functions and the regulation of secretion of the hormones. At the end of class, you should know hormones of adrenal cortex, their functions and the regulation, and some of the applied aspects that we will discuss in physiology also as well as in pathology for the hypersecretion and hyposecretion of the hormones. So before going for detailed physiology of this, okay, I will just pass through the histology and anatomy just in brief. I will pass through because you should know, because the histology class is I think after the physiology. That's why we will discuss in detail. Okay, adrenal medulla secretion is controlled by the preganglionic fibers of the sympathetic nerve. The secretion of the adrenal medulla is controlled by the preganglionic fibers. Okay? And this adrenal medulla secrete three hormones. They collectively called as what? You know? Okay, yes, very good. Catecholamines. It includes epinephrine or adrenaline, that is the 80%. Norepinephrine and dopamine. These three collectively called as catecholamines. Suppose if a question comes catecholamine, then you should not worry about that because it includes all the three hormones: adrenaline, epinephrine, norepinephrine and dopamine. Adrenal cortex, it is based on the steroids. How many carbon atoms are there in the steroid? 21 carbon atoms. There are two hormones. One is called as mineralocorticoids. So the example of mineralocorticoid is aldosterone. It is secreted by the zona glomerulosa and affect the excretion of sodium, retained sodium. Then second steroid of 21 carbon hormone is called as glucocorticoids. An example is cortisol. Okay. Second is glucocorticoid and the example is cortisol. It is secreted by the zona fasciculata. Another layer is there. I will show you in the next slide what is zona fasciculata. Again, they will discuss detail in histology with all the features. Okay. And as I said, the main function of cortisol is metabolism of glucose and protein and stress. Okay. Then very less concentration of steroids of 19 carbons. They are called as sex steroids. They include androgens and estrogens. This is secreted by another layer of adrenal cortex that is called as zona reticuloris. Okay, this concentration is very less. Okay, very minimal. you see this, this is adrenal gland and this is medulla, inner medulla and outer cortex. If you take this section of this cortex, here this is the cortex, so it consists of zona glomerulosa, zona fasciculata and zona, 3 layers. They are discussed detail in histology. And this is again in large cortex and this is medulla. Okay. This 3 layer and they secrete the hormone that is zona glomerulosa secrete melanocorticoids. Example is aldosterone. This is zona fasciculata. It secretes the glucocorticoids. Example is cortisol. This is zona reticularis. It secretes androgens and some amount of estrogen. That is called as sex steroids. This is synthesis. They will discuss in biochemistry. Just all they are synthesized from the cholesterol. I want to show you. All they synthesized from the cholesterol, melanocorticoid, glucocorticoid, and steroids. So they will discuss detail in the biochemistry. This is not the objective of physiology. Transport and metabolism again they will discuss in the biochemistry. One of the objective of biochemistry. We will discuss now the physiology with pertaining to our objectives, specific objectives. So again I will discuss this adrenal cortical hormones. There are 3 types: mineralocorticoids, glucocorticoids and sex steroids. Example of mineralocorticoids are aldosterone, glucocorticoids is cortisol and sex steroids are androgens and estrogen. Okay, these are the hormones. Now we will discuss what are the functions of mineralocorticoid, that is aldosterone. The most important function of aldosterone is tubular reabsorption of sodium. Okay? Tubular reabsorption of sodium. So you concentrate here. This is the renal tubule. Okay? This is the tubular cell, and this is the distal tubular. Anything which is going here, that pass through the urine. Anything which is going here, they are stored in the blood, in the plasma. Okay? So here the most important function of this aldosterone is the tubular secretion of this tubular reabsorption of sodium and tubular secretion of potassium and hydrogen ion. You see here, sodium is reabsorbed in the plasma. Okay, so it increases the blood sodium level. It increases the blood sodium level. Okay, and you see this. It secrete potassium ions into the distal tubule. Means as I said, anything going here means they will excrete out in the urine. Okay, so that's why. Suppose if the more potassium is excreted out in the urine, what happened to the potassium concentration of in the blood? Decrease. Okay, so the function of aldosterone is increases the sodium level and decreases the potassium and hydrogen ion. Okay, so increase in the potassium ions in the urine in excess called as kaliuresis. Kali potassium, uresis urine. Okay. So if there is an increase in the sodium concentration, means there is definitely increase in the water also. If sodium and water both are increased, means increases the extracellular volume. Extracellular fluid volume. So due to retention of sodium and due to retention of water, you know that it increases the extracellular volume. If extracellular volume is increases, then it increases the blood pressure. It increases the blood pressure. Yeah. If there is increase in the extracellular volume, it increases the blood pressure. Okay. So the important function is increase sodium, decrease potassium, increases the extracellular fluid volume. Okay. You can see hypokalemia and muscle paralysis when there is hypersecretion of aldosterone. This is in the normal secretion. When there is hypersecretion of aldosterone, hypokalemia means decreased potassium. Severe. If there is severe hypokalemia, leads to muscle paralysis. Okay? In hypersecretion. Hyperkalemia and cardiac toxicity is seen in hyposecretion. Suppose there is a less secretion of aldosterone, then the potassium concentrated is more in the blood. If there is potassium concentration more in the blood, that leads to hyperkalemia, so directly affecting the heart. There is cardiac toxicity that is seen in hyposecretion. Okay, so that's why the balancing of aldosterone is very important. Balance hormone for normal functioning of the body is very important. Then I said there is increase in the tubular secretion of hydrogen ion. So the urine which comes out, due to this there is increase in the acidity in the urine because of presence of hydrogen ion in the urine. And more hydrogen ion passes from the urine means there is a decrease in the concentration of hydrogen ion in the plasma, blood. So that may leads to alkalosis. Alkalosis due to more loss of hydrogen ion in the urine. Okay, it may leads to alkalosis. Okay. Then the last is circulatory function. Aldosterone is very important for the maintenance of circulation. If there is decreased circulation, means person may go for circulatory shock because why means if aldosterone decreases means decrease in the extracellular fluid volume and decrease blood pressure. Decreased blood pressure and extracellular fluid volume means circulatory shock. Okay. So absence of aldosterone secretion leads to circulatory shock. Circulatory shock. Okay. So that's why aldosterone is very important for the maintenance of sodium and water balance, extracellular fluid as well as blood pressure. Okay. It's clear? So this is in brief about the functions of aldosterone. Okay. We'll go for the next hormone, regulation of secretion of aldosterone. So the factors which are regulating aldosterone secretion. Number one is the potassium ion. Number two is the renin-angiotensin feedback mechanism. Renin-angiotensin feedback mechanism. And number three is the sodium concentration in the blood. And four is ACTH, adrenocorticotropic hormone. Okay. Suppose there is hemorrhage. Okay. Any blood loss or upright posture like this, okay, or sodium deprivation. Suppose sodium is lost in the body. So anything this, it leads to decrease in the extracellular fluid volume, as I explained. Sodium loss means water loss and leads to decrease in the extracellular fluid volume. Okay. Then second, this is leads to this sodium or water. All this leads to decrease in the extracellular volume. Okay, to understand up to here. Now we'll go for potassium. Suppose there is a load, potassium load, high concentration of potassium there in blood. Potassium load. Increase plasma potassium. It directly stimulates the adrenal cortex to release aldosterone. Then this part is over. This part is over. Aldosterone comes and how it regulates, I will discuss later. Now coming to this part, okay, half we have completed. Here the extracellular fluid volume will decreases. When there is a decrease in the extracellular fluid volume, so here one of the hormone is there in kidney that is called as renin. Renin is a sensor. It senses whenever there is decrease in the sodium, water or extracellular fluid volume, it is stimulated. Secretion of renin is stimulated. Okay? Here the renin is secreted. Then this renin, what is the function of renin? It converts angiotensinogen to angiotensin 1. Okay. Again, I will discuss detail in when we will discuss the blood pressure. Okay. Blood pressure in the serious. This renin is a sensor secreted by the kidney. Okay. Whenever there is this decrease in the extracellular volume, renin is secreted. So the function of renin is just it converts angiotensinogen to angiotensin 1. This angiotensinogen is secreted by the liver. Angiotensinogen is secreted by liver. Okay. Okay, liver secrete angiotensinogen, and renin convert angiotensin 1 to angiotensinogen to angiotensin 1. Yes, liver. Normal condition it is not secreted. Whenever there is this thing, then it is secreted. Okay. Angiotensin 1. Okay. And in the lungs there is an enzyme called as converting enzyme. Converting enzyme present in the lung. Okay. Now what is the function of converting enzyme of the lung? Converting enzyme of the lung convert, very simple, don't complicate, angiotensin 1 to 2. That's all. Converting enzyme function is convert angiotensin 1 to 2. Yes. This is the function of. Why I mean this is very important. If you become a doctor, to control the blood pressure, some of the drugs are there. Okay? So that's why angiotensin is the very important mechanism of the kidney that maintains the blood pressure and extracellular fluid volume. Okay? So it secretes, lung secrete converting enzyme, it converts angiotensin 1 to angiotensin 2. Okay? Now angiotensin 2 itself is a powerful vasoconstrictor. As well as it stimulates adrenal cortex to secrete aldosterone. Here this stimulate to secrete aldosterone. Okay? So this is how the aldosterone secretion is regulated. Whenever there is a potassium increase, whenever there is this second is the renin-angiotensin mechanism, whenever there is a decreased extracellular fluid volume, and sodium, whenever there is a depletion of sodium, the same mechanism again. Okay. Then adrenocorticotropic hormone. It is a hormone secreted by what? Antidiuretic. Yes. So it stimulates adrenal cortex to secrete aldosterone. Yes. Yes, hormone. Angiotensin 2 is also a hormone. Now then, last is aldosterone. Bring back the extracellular fluid to normal. It increases. Initially it decreases, then because of this all mechanism, then ultimately it increases the. Yes.
This is about the renin and nutrition. How about potassium and sodium and oxygen?
Yes. Potassium is same. Potassium. Yeah. Renin-angiotensin is same. Sodium, same. Decrease extracellular fluid volume. All this in diagram.
So, the extracellular fluid is because of reabsorption. Yes.
This increase. Yes, it increases because of reabsorption. Good. So that is the main function. Okay. Now I will go for cortisol, the next hormone. This is biochemistry. Just I am showing the steroid binding protein globulin is there. It is bind and how this come into the cell and how the function taking. Again, they will discuss detail in the biochemistry. That is not our objective. The physiological action of cortisol. As I said, cortisol is very important for metabolism, anti-inflammatory function, and stress. Discuss one by one. On metabolism, first is the carbohydrate metabolism. Okay. Before going for actual discussion of cortisol, one thing I will tell you, then you can understand. Cortisol is a anti-diabetogenic hormone. Now you tell me what it means. Diabetogenic hormone. Diabetogenic hormone. Yes. So what it cause? What it may cause? Yes. Increase blood sugar level, blood glucose level. If you write this much, means you are full answer in the carbohydrate metabolism. Okay. It is a diabetogenic hormone. Means it increases the blood sugar level.
Does it inhibit the insulin?
Yes. Inhibit and antagonist the insulin. So how it increases the blood sugar level? It stimulates gluconeogenesis. You know gluconeogenesis means the formation of sugar from the non-carbohydrate products like protein or fats. This is the main action of cortisol. So that way it increases the blood sugar level. What it does? Cortisol activates DNA transcription. That means any enzyme required for gluconeogenesis, cortisol activates. Any enzyme which is required for gluconeogenesis, it is activated by the cortisol. Gluconeogenesis increases the blood sugar level. Okay. Then the other is cortisol causes mobilization of amino acids from the extrahepatic tissue, okay, mainly from muscles. So it mobilizes amino acid from the other than the liver, okay, from the muscles, mobilize, and that amino acid is used for glucose formation, gluconeogenesis. Okay, gluconeogenesis activate all the enzymes and mobilize amino acid other than the liver. Yes. Then it reduces utilization by the cell. It reduces glucose utilization by the cell. Again, the cells utilize the glucose that reduced by the cortisol. If cortisol is there, then cells does not use more glucose. This is another function. So by that, again it increases the blood glucose levels. Okay. How it decreases? Cortisol decreases the rate of glucose utilization by the cells everywhere in the blood because of inhibition of response of the cells to insulin. As you ask, no, this is. It decreases the utilization of glucose by the cells. Why? Means the inhibition of response of cells to insulin. Yes. Other than liver, hepatic means liver. Other than the hepatic tissue, for example, most commonly muscles. So ultimately, it leads to blood glucose concentration. Okay, this is about the carbohydrate metabolism. And coming to the protein metabolism. Cortisol mobilizes amino acids from the non-hepatic tissue, as I said in that metabolism, and diminishes the tissue stores of the protein. So it reduces the whatever the tissue amino acid is stored in the tissue, it diminishes. Means muscles weakness because more amino acid is moves from the muscles, means muscle going for weakness. Then cortisol decreases protein synthesis. This is another mechanism. Okay. First mechanism is mobilize the amino acid from the extravascular tissue muscles. Then again the second mechanism is it decreases the protein synthesis. I mean ultimately there is a negative nitrogen balance. Yes.
Lymphatic tissue, similar to lymphatic tissue.
Which one?
Lymphatic tissue.
Sense. Non-action. Okay. So cortisol decreases protein synthesis in the body cells except those of the liver. Again the same thing, and so you should not confuse because it does not affect the liver about the protein metabolism, and increase the catabolism of protein in the many extrahepatic tissue, especially in the muscles and lymphoid tissue. Okay. Catabolization, you know what you mean catabolization? Breakdown of protein. Break down the protein and moves the amino acid or glucose synthesis. Okay. So it is a protein catabolic hormone. If you remember this much also, that is means good answer for sure. If you are writing, suppose you are writing the function of cortisol in protein metabolism, if you write protein catabolic hormone means everything is covered. Yes, negative nitrogen balance. So in the presence of great excess of cortisol, the muscle become very weak and the immunity function of the lymphoid tissue decreases. Because suppose hypersecretion, then more catabolism, yes, Cushing's syndrome. This is all about the protein metabolism. Now coming to fat metabolism. Okay, cortisol promote mobilization of fatty acids from the adipose tissue, which increases the concentration of free fatty acid in the plasma. Okay, what is the function? It mobilizes fatty acid from the adipose tissue. Whenever the fat is deposited, cortisol mobilizes adipose tissue from this fatty acid from the adipose tissue to the blood. So increases the fatty acid level in the blood. And increase oxidation of fatty acid in the liver cells for energy. Suppose sometime, for example, in the stress, glucose is not there, urgent requirement of glucose is there. So suddenly what cortisol does, increases the oxidation of fatty acid in the liver cells for energy. That is used for energy. Again I will discuss this Cushing syndrome. You will see that many people with excess of cortisol secretion develop a peculiar type of obesity. Okay, because of the deposition of fat, excessive in the chest and the head, back region. Again I will discuss giving power like cost. This oxidation of fatty acid in the liver in a stressful condition. Suppose urgent energy is needed. Whenever fatty acid goes for oxidation, as they have discussed in the metabolism of fat in biochemistry last year, so it gives many ATPs. If fatty acid goes under oxidation, it gives many ATPs that is used for. Now the fourth is the effect on water and electrolyte metabolism. Cortisol has a slight effect on enhancement of sodium resorption and potassium excretion. Same like aldosterone, but in a minimal, very less, not like aldosterone. Okay. Sodium retention and potassium excretion. It increases the rate of renal blood flow and then glomerular filtration rate. Okay. Facilitate water excretion. Okay. So it increases the renal blood flow, okay, and increases the GFR. So there is more water excretion. In patient with adrenal insufficiency, excretion of water is so slow that there is a danger of water intoxication. Okay. Main function is in hypersecretion, cortisol excrete more water. Suppose there is a adrenal insufficiency, means there is a cortisol depletion, for example Addison's disease. In that what happens? Excretion of water is slow, so sometimes leads to water intoxication.
Sir, what is it?
GFR means filtrate in the kidney. How much filter is per minute in the kidney? What is the function of kidney? It filters all the things. That is called as glomerular filtration rate. Then we discuss detail when it comes to the third year, renal block. Then the action on blood cells. Cortisol increases the production of red cells and platelets. Okay? It increases the RBCs production and platelet production.
Increase.
Yes.
So why the Cushing syndrome there's impaired bone healing?
Impaired bone healing. This is because of less protein. Protein and effect on the blood vessels one. No. Cortisol increases this production of red blood cells more. No anemia. If decreased cortisol means anemia. Cortisol is stimulate. If you remember again, they will discuss in blood and immune block. What are the factors increases the RBC production means thyroxine, cortisol or increases the blood RBC increases. No anemia. Anemia means if there is deficiency of cortisol. And cortisol decreases the number of lymphocyte and eosinophil. This is opposite action. Okay? Cortisol increasing the RBCs and platelets, but decreasing the lymphocyte and eosinophils. What is the function of lymphocyte? So suppose if there is cortisol increases production, decrease in the immunity. Am I right? And what is the function of eosinophils? They create allergic like symptoms. Eosinophils. So that's why cortisol is the drug used to suppress immune system and to suppress allergy. Clear? Cortisol is a drug used to suppress immunity and to suppress the allergy. Okay? So the function of cortisol is decreases the lymphocyte and decreases the eosinophil, increases the RBC and increases the platelets. It's clear? Okay. Simple, no confusion. RBC increases, platelet increases, lymphocyte decreases, eosinophil decreases. Then on CVS, glucocorticoid is necessary for maintenance of normal blood pressure. As I said, due to this sodium and water retention. One is, it is by three mechanisms. One is causes permissive action. It enhances the response of vascular muscles to catecholamines. Epinephrine, norepinephrine and dopamine. Vascular response. Okay, this is one. And second is it inhibits synthesis of prostaglandins. Suppose if there is inhibits the prostaglandins, it leads to vasodilatation. Okay, so how it maintains the blood pressure? No, this is vasodilator. It inhibits the synthesis of prostaglandins, vasodilator. Means it maintains the blood pressure. And third is it reduces the permeability of the capillaries. So capillary permeability decreases. Okay? Useful in the maintenance of blood volume. Suppose the capillary permeability is maintained, it decreases, means decrease in the extracellular volume and decrease in the blood pressure. So it maintains the blood pressure.
Can you repeat the next point? Permissive action.
Yes. Permissive action means it help. It help. Permissive means help. Help the catecholamines on vascular muscles. So catecholamine causes vasoconstriction. Then this is very important. Effect on stress. So it is a very important hormone which helping to cope up with the stress. So almost any type of stress, whether it is a physical or neurogenic stress, or so what it does, it will cause increase in the ACTH secretion, adrenocortical. Any stress increases the ACTH secretion, okay? And consequent cortisol secretion. Whenever there is increase in the ACTH secretion, means increase in the cortisol secretion. Now, how it cope up the stress? Okay, I put this slide. How it cope up? So the effect of cortisol after 2 to 4 hours of stress. It inhibits glucose uptake by the many cells. Inhibits the glucose uptake by the many cells. Okay. And stimulates gluconeogenesis. So these are the things which is required for during stress. Okay. First is inhibit the glucose uptake by the many cells. Then second is stimulate gluconeogenesis. Stimulate protein catabolism. All the things we are discussed. Vascular effect. Sensibilization of vessels to the effect of noradrenaline. Permusic action for vasoconstriction. So that is due to inhibition of prostaglandin. Very simple effect. Then the effect on memory. Effect on memory. ACTH facilitates learning and memory in experimental animals, help to cope up with the stress. This is done in research done in the mammals, animals. Effect on memory. So this is also helpful during the stress. However, long-lasting stress impairs learning condition. Suppose long learning stress is there, it impairs the learning. So, in long-lasting stress, it impairs learning. Cortisol damages the neurons in the hippocampus. If stress is more than 5 hours, it impairs the learning capacity by damaging the neurons in the hippocampus.
What is the hippocampus?
Hippocampus area in the brain.
Affects memory. How it affects memory?
It facilitates learning.
Memory, what is it?
Learning and this D should come here. Learning and memory. This is how during stress paraventricular nucleus releases the cortical releasing hormone, locus coeruleus, noradrenaline, sympathetic nervous system, stimulate adrenal medulla, okay, and stimulate the ACTH secretion and it increases the cortisol. Other effects, glucocorticols have the many other effects such as increases the HCl and pepsin in the GIT, promotion of synthesis of fetal surfactant, spoke about the pharmacology effects including anti-inflammatory, anti-allergic and anti-shock. As I explained this in the last slide. Now the regulation and secretion of cortisol. Hypothalamus, anterior pituitary, adrenal cortex. These things stimulate, this is corticotropic releasing hormone by the hypothalamus. Stress, circadian regulation, this is daily secretion. Stress like physical, emotional, hypoglycemia, cold or pain, stimulate this. Okay? And this stimulate anterior pituitary to secrete ACTH. Okay? This ACTH stimulate adrenal cortex to secrete cortisol. Then again cortisol itself, if suppose the concentration of cortisol is more, itself it inhibits CRH, autoregulation. Okay? Clear? If cortisol level is more, again it will inhibit CRH secretion.
It's indirect feedback.
Hmm?
It's indirect feedback.
What?
Indirect feedback.
Yeah, exactly. All this stimulate this stimulate this, and this stimulate cortisol. Then, when the cortisol secretion is more, it itself inhibits cortisol secretion. Clear? So this is the regulation of secretion. Same thing I am explaining here. Same thing I am explaining here. Yes. Corticotropic releasing hormone. Corticotropic releasing hormone. Again. See here. Both. Listen here. Both inhibit. Both. CRH as well as ACTH. Direct. Hi. Yes. Now what do you want? Direct. Direct inhibit. Both direct as well as indirect. Both direct and indirect. Direct as well as indirect. The same thing, hypothalamus, CRH.